Let's go to Canberra now and catch up with the One Nation leader, Pauline Hanson. Pauline, thanks for joining us. How about this melon gate? It's got you in agreement with Monique Ryan, of all people. Why won't the Prime Minister just roll over and apologise? He says we've got it all wrong.
Well, you tell me, because we can't work it out. And, you know, if you want to be the leader of this nation, then admit when you get it wrong, and especially the most disgraceful thing. I think what he said about Kylie Minogue wasn't really nice, considering, you know, his wife, he's just newly married, and to make that comment about Kylie Minogue. But I think the big issue here, Chris, is the way he's regarded to the Prime Minister of Japan, who is an ally of us, you know, trading partner to the tune of about $34 billion a year, and yet the way he has discussed about the melons and his reaction to that comment, the podcast that he should never have done in the first place. He was poorly advised. So it's a shame that it's come to this, and he cannot understand. Just give a simple apology to the Prime Minister of Japan, Takaichi, and just say, I've got it wrong, I do apologise on behalf of the Australian people. But he's put us all in this boat. You know, who knows what the Japanese people think about Australia, and we're all in this sinking raft with him.
Yeah, even if you take away the double entendre about the melons, he was asked about some of the worst gifts he's ever mentioned, and he proffers up this recent gift from Japan. It's just so rude to a country that's supposed to be a key partner.
Yeah, and he couldn't even declare them, so either he didn't think they were worth the value that they are, and I know because I have seen the value of these melons, and they're a precious gift, you know, to the Japanese people. It is a precious gift, and yet he hasn't declared it. And then he tells us he only got 2. Well, then he got 4 melons. So, you know, it's just the whole thing around all this. He's belittling this beautiful woman, and what I've heard is she's a lovely lady, and her position in the world as Prime Minister of a very prominent country, and he should be apologising. Wake up to yourself, Albanese. Apologise to the Japanese Prime Minister. You got it wrong, mate. You got it very wrong.
I tell you what, it just occurs to me, having interviewed you last week for this documentary, The Fight for the Right, one of the key criticisms against you and your current resurgence through One Nation is that you don't have the experience or the gravitas to be Prime Minister. Well, Albanese's not really filling the job with a lot of decorum at the moment, is he?
Well, I don't think he is. You know, at least people get the truth out of me, and I think that people trust me more than what they do our current Prime Minister. Everyone knows where they stand with me, and I am quite willing to say, if I don't get it right, I'll admit that I got it wrong. You know, this is what a leader is about. You have to be there for what's right by the country. He's done the wrong thing by the country here, Chris. He's put us in you know, the dog basket, to say, with his reluctance to apologise and say, well, I've got it wrong, I've embarrassed the Prime Minister of Japan, I should never have said those things, and I do owe you a deepest apology.
Let's go to the latest News 24 Pulse opinion poll, because it's fascinating viewing at the moment. A pox on both the houses really for the major parties, with Labor now still below 30% at 28% and the Coalition at 22%, One Nation at 24%. These are amazing times when you see those numbers in that direction. But this is One Nation coming down a bit and the Coalition closing the gap. Do you feel that the surge to One Nation might have reached its peak?
Look, Chris, I'm very buoyed by the support that we are getting. There's a lot of people out there, and there's margin of error in that as well. And a lot of people still won't disclose who they're going to vote for. And I think the true polling day is on election day, and that's the day for it. You know, people are starting to understand and wake up to what One Nation stands for, looking at our policies. So, look, who knows, has it peaked or hasn't peaked? I'm not listening to all the rumours by some of these media outlets out there and what they're saying. Let's just get on and do the job and deal with the issues. People are sick and tired of seeing these polls every week. They really are. They said, for Christ's sake, stop talking about yourselves and let's see what you want to do for us.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the issues behind this. Certainly immigration has been a key issue for you and a key reason for people going to One Nation. The Coalition starting to make up ground in those polls because they've started to get, I would suggest one of the reasons is because they've adopted a stronger immigration policy. Here's their shadow housing minister, Andrew Bragg, on immigration numbers today.
The shortfall between number of houses built and the number of people coming in is 350 to 400,000, about that. And so you need to have a norm somewhere around 180,000 to bridge that gap over the forward estimates period. Like, that's just the range.
So starting to put a number there on what they would reduce migration to in this country. You've put numbers on this as well. Do you think that the Coalition are matching you on immigration?
No, they're not going to match us, and they won't match us on deportation of the illegals that are in the country, or visa holders, or the students, because they'll be beholden to the universities and those graduates and their families coming in the country. So they've been given an opportunity of being in government over the years. They had high immigration coming into the country as well. The only ones that people can trust to deal with immigration is One Nation. Chris, we've taken the Coalition and the Labor Party kicking and screaming on many issues, but the Coalition, who was the first one that came out against the voice of Parliament? One Nation, not the Nationals, not the Liberal Party. Then it was also about climate change, about net zero. It was One Nation. They've had to dump that because they've got it wrong with the public. They won't get out of the Paris Agreement, so you're still bound to all this climate change BS that we're having to deal with and high energy costs. So these are important issues to the Australian people. The Liberal Party have no idea, understanding of how they're going to turn this around. Even big business, small businesses, they haven't addressed their concerns either. That needs to be also will be high on my agenda to try and do what I can to give them the hope that they can stay in their business. It's going to be profitable for them. And a lot of these businesses have gone under the current government. Over 1,400 industries manufacturing, 50,000 small businesses gone insolvent.
I want to mention the documentary, The Fight for the Right. It airs here on News 24 Tuesday week, Tuesday the 25th of August at 7 p.m. I spent a bit of time with you on the doco last week in Melbourne. We're still putting the final edit together. But our interview there in Melbourne was for about an hour. It was a pretty in-depth interview. There was only you, myself, a cameraman and producer in the room. I won't dob in which one of them. One of them got the impression you might walk out during that interview. Did you ever feel like running off in the middle of the interview?
No, I didn't. I was just cranky with you at one stage, to be honest. Because, Chris, and I'll tell the people now, I don't know if you're going to put it in the interview, but you attempted to get me on a gotcha moment. And, to ask me who was the Prime Minister of Indonesia and who's the Prime Minister of Japan. And I knew it was Takaichi, but I couldn't think of her name. And the whole fact is, I'm fed up with these gotcha moments. And you said, well, you might be Prime Minister of the country. Well, guess what, Chris? I'm not the Prime Minister now, and I'm dealing with the issues in Australia. If I'm ever in that position, then I will deal with who are the leaders of these nations.
Good.
Maybe they have a turnover of their Prime Ministers as often as we do in Australia.
Maybe. Well, that's interesting. There was plenty in that interview, and there'll be plenty in the documentary, and there certainly wasn't much there that could be called gotcha. But given you mentioned those questions, have you brushed up? Have you found out who the President of Indonesia is?
No, I haven't, Chris. I told you. Why do I need to? Chris, I'm dealing with the issues that are important to the Australian people. I don't need to know who the Prime Minister of Indonesia is, or Cambodia, or all these other countries. Or I don't need to know that. I'll know it if it is important to me. I'm more interested in what's happening in rural and regional Australia and to the farming sector, agricultural sector, and what's happening for the cost of living for the Australian people. And high on my list is mass migration. I'll deal with the issues that are important to Australians, not who is the Prime Minister of Indonesia. And I'm sure they're all running to their they're all wanting to have a look at it. Who's the Prime Minister like they did with me? Are you xenophobic? So anyway.
Well, Pauline, we've gone over time again. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to get the doco out there to everyone. Pauline Hanson there, live from Canberra, and The Fight for the Right, Tuesday the 25th of August, here on News.
Good day, Australia. The Prime Minister cannot keep his hands off a crate of melons, and the woman the Canberra Press Gallery spent 2 decades calling fringe just polled within 4 points of him. Sit with that for a second. Here's what happened. Anthony Albanese took a perfectly good diplomatic gift from Japan, one of our closest allies and a $34 billion trading partner, and turned it into a crude punchline, then somehow failed to declare the what properly. You would think a Prime Minister would know that when Japan hands you a gift, it is not comedy material. It is diplomacy. It is respect. He treated the whole thing like a sausage sizzle gone wrong, dropped the snag, then blamed the tongs.
Pauline Hanson did not need a spin doctor to script her response. Wake up to yourself, Albanese. Apologise to Japan on behalf of the Australian people. No misinterpreted, no hiding behind a pre-planned question, just accountability. And here's the kicker, she will happily admit when she gets it wrong. The bloke in the lodge will not even admit he got the gift list wrong. That is the difference between a leader and someone doing an impression of one. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. It genuinely helps us bring you these stories. Now, if you think this is just one senator having a crack, look at the numbers, because this is where it stops being funny. The latest Pulse poll has Labor on 28, the Coalition on 22, and One Nation on 24. Read that again. One Nation is within 4 points of the government, while the Coalition sits in third like a bloke who walked into the wrong pub and stayed for the air conditioning. And Hanson is not rising on vibes alone. She is the only leader talking about the things you actually pay for. Australia is short 350 to 400,000 homes, yet both major parties still want to pump migration through the roof. Hanson says cap it at about 180,000 a year, send home the overstayers and actually enforce the rules. That's not radical, that's what a reasonable person would do if the university lobby wasn't signing their paychecks. And remember the voice? One Nation was the first major party to call it out for what it was, while the Nationals and Liberals tripped over each other trying to keep everyone happy. Now the rest of them are finally catching up to a position she staked out years ago. Then there's energy. While Labor lectures you about net zero, more than 1,400 manufacturing businesses have collapsed and around 15,000 small businesses have gone under on their watch. That's not a transition, that's a clearance sale, and every power bill you open is the receipt. Add regional Australia doing it tougher than ever, and this stops looking like a protest vote. It starts looking like a plan. And when the media tries to catch her out with gotcha questions about foreign leaders, she doesn't flinch. Her job is Australia, she says, not memorising the Cambodian cabinet. After the melon disaster, maybe knowing fewer foreign leaders is the safer bet. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.